Thank you, Presiding Officer, and I'll start by declaring that I also hold a PVG certificate. I'm pleased to be closing for the Scottish Conservatives in this Stage 1 debate today. As my colleague Liz Smith said in her opening remarks, we support the principles of the Disclosure Scotland Bill. We all agree that protecting the most vulnerable people in our society is crucial, and if we can make the administering of that more efficient, then we should. Yep. The Education and Skills Committee Stage 1 report expressed that the committee is very concerned with certain aspects of the bill. As Claire Adamson and Ross Greer and other members have mentioned in their speeches, one of these concerns was that the impact of the bill could have on volunteers who are under the age of 16. The contribution young people make through volunteering in any capacity cannot be overstated. Committee evidence revealed many concerns about the minimum age requirement of 16, combined with PVG membership being mandatory for regulated roles. Indeed, one organisation stated that the bill will likely be interpreted to mean younger people under 16 cannot undertake regulated roles. Whilst I appreciate that the Scottish Government acknowledges this concern, it is an area that will require further clarity as the bill progresses. Another issue highlighted at committee was how the proposal to move away from lifetime PVG memberships to a 5-year renewal period would be implemented. There needs to be a proper transition so that organisations do not end up with a huge budget commitment at the same time every 5 years due to current PVG members renewing on the same day. I know the Minister suggested a couple of options for addressing this issue in her response to the committee report, and I look forward to debating these options at Stage 2. I now turn to the bill's promise to digitalise the disclosure system. The end goal is to increase efficiency, and this would be a welcome outcome. But I think there are grave lessons to be learned from the recent move to the new IT system known as PASS, or Protecting and Safeguarding Scotland. In the Chamber in June last year, I raised concerns with the Minister on the robustness of any IT system tied to the Disclosure Bill. In response, the Minister said, and I quote, "We are confident that the system is at an appropriate stage and will be completed in time for the delivery of the new services." Disclosure Scotland has a target to complete 90% disclosure checks within 14 days. But in September last year, the percentage of PVG checks completed within that target fell to 47.8%, and in October it fell again to just 12.5%. I heard about the huge delays to disclosure checks first-hand from childcare providers who were unable to put staff in place to work due to PVG checks taking twice as long as they should. At the end of October, I wrote to the Minister for Children and Young People, and in her response, she told me that these delays were partly due to seasonal pressures causing an increase to workloads, and partly due to bedding in of the new digital PASS system, which went live in September 2019. The recent Audit Scotland report on Disclosure Scotland also highlighted a reduction in their performance in November as well. The report in full has made for some very interesting reading. The report included a summary of the transition to the PASS system. In this, it showed that Disclosure Scotland, in June 2015, their proposal to the Scottish Government to take the digital contract out of BT's hands was rejected for its high cost, a figure of £77.2 million over the transition period 2015-16 to 2022-23. According to Audit Scotland's report, 4 months later, Disclosure Scotland returned with a second proposal, stating a projected cost of £34.1 million. The Scottish Government accepted this revised offer. However, in the years since, there have been several revisions to the budget forecast until in November 2019, the costs were higher than the original figure of £77.2 million that was actually rejected in the first instance by the SNP Government. The bottom line is that the PASS system is over budget. It was not ready to be fully rolled out in September, and as I previously stated, lessons have to be learned from this, especially in the light of digital updates being required with the passing of this disclosure bill. And at this stage, I would like to acknowledge the very pertinent comments made by Alec Neil in regard to IT systems. The final issue I will address today is the bill's coherence with other legislation passed in this Scottish Parliament. As other members have mentioned, several recent parliamentary acts have legislated on similar issues to this bill. This includes the Age of Criminal Responsibility Act 2019 and the Management of Offenders Act 2019. These very recent acts may need to be amended to correct the contradictions and discrepancies that have arisen because of the introduction of this disclosure bill. I agree with the Education Committee's conclusion about the importance of ensuring no more discrepancies arise when incorporating the United Nations Conventions on the Rights of the Child, or the UNCRC, into Scots law. The Minister's response to the Stage 1 report stated that the disclosure bill was designed with the principles of the UNCRC in mind, but did not confirm that changes to this bill would not be required when incorporating UNCRC into Scots law. Instead of a piecemeal approach to legislation, it's important to ensure that these pieces of legislation work well together, as Beatrice Wishart mentioned in her speech. To conclude, I would like to reiterate that we will support the disclosure bill at Stage 1, but fully believe that amendments and clarifications are required at Stage 2 on the issues that have been raised in the Chamber today. More issues than I've been able to cover, such as other relevant information, which I know Mary Fee mentioned and Daniel Johnson mentioned, and I appreciate the Minister also tried to clarify in her opening speech. Well, we need further clarification and discussion on these. Several MSPs discussed the new list of offences and regulated roles, and I think these are areas requiring close consideration going forward. For the continued protection of vulnerable groups, which everyone in this chamber acknowledges is essential, we need this legislation to be right. Thank you.